Well, hello. I hope you and your roommates are enjoying our show so far. And that was a little treat from our very own Dr. Bonesworth making their first appearance on our show here, with a lovely, lovely cover song. Atticus, the name of the band, I forget. We'll put it in the show notes. Don't worry about it. Who cares who sang it originally? Because Bones did such a lovely job of it. It's their song now. It's their song now. That did escalate quickly. Yes. So we're going to get into what are we going to do now? Y'all know what we're going to do now. Of course. Of course. This is our 11th show. You know what we're doing now. It's Lara Listens, our weekly delve into two of my favorite vinyls from my collection. They're all my favorites, really. I mean, it's like children, you know? You don't really have one favorite. Okay. All right. I'm going to let you in on a secret. Okay. Every parent has a favorite. It's a lie. It's a lie. You just can't say that out loud, right? Like, obviously I have favorites, but anyway. We're going to start with one or two. Quick. The first number I see is the one we're going to pick. Let's see it. Y'all are very, very slow. Come on. Let's go. Okay. We're just going to go with number one. The Low End Theory. Tribe Called Quest. Now, when we talked about the Fugees, we talked about alternative rap, so-called alternative rap, and how, I believe that was the direction that rap really would have gone in if it hadn't had a hand on the scale, so to speak, for so-called bling rap, so-called gangster rap, etc., etc. All rappers look to this album as one of their inspirations. And why? Well, because it makes sense. First of all, it fucking vibes. It just bangs. Here's the back of it. It's black as fuck. And it is, it's creative, it's inventive, but also what it does is it intentionally draws upon the different forms of music that were his predecessor. It's the first song, Excursions. He talks about how he's talking to his pops, and it's like his pops. The hip hop reminds him of bebop, and and in the music on this album, they use a lot of jazz, a lot of smooth stuff, and they remix it into something that is new and fresh and very much of the time, and I mean holds up beautifully to this day of all beats, right? Because one of the things that I love about rap music, about hip hop, music in general, but about this genre especially, is that it very much takes and intentionally quotes from things that came before it, like literally in the music, and also in the music that is used, and also in the lyrics and in the themes and stuff like that. And which is something that, by the way, that jazz did before it, right? They would take little quotes from other songs and throw it in and mix it into the new thing that they had created. And it's something that has built upon itself and into these different forms of, quintessentially American music. And guess what? Basically all American music came from Black people, right? Even, as I've mentioned before, the Black weirdo is responsible for everything. Goth would not exist if it weren't for Screaming Jay Hawkins. Okay. He had the skulls. He had the snakes. He was doing it before anybody else at all. And he wrote up, I Put a Spell on You. It wasn't anyone else. It was him. So put some respect on Screaming Jay Hawkins' name. And remember, Black people invented all the music. It's funny how growing up, listening to rock music, people would be like, that's white music. You only like white music. I'm like, literally go back 10 years. This was invented by Black people. Go back all the way to the beginning. This was invented by Black people. Okay. It's wild to me how quickly, we forget our history. Anyway, another great thing about this album is it features, if it were a comic book, this would be a crossover, and this one would be worth the most because it contains the first appearance of Busta Rhymes. Obviously, it wasn't the first appearance of Busta Rhymes because Busta Rhymes was with Leaders of the New School, but Busta Rhymes has on the song Scenario, which here we go, yo. Listen to that song. Listen to that song later. It bangs. It just bangs. And they basically gave Busta Rhymes the entire song. They gave him like the longest verse, and they gave him a little pre-verse to his verse where they introduce him because he was so good. And Busta Rhymes to me is another one of the little tragedies of the switch between, you know, rap and alternative rap or whatever, because Busta Rhymes started off with these guys with alternative rap. He, you know, he had the long dreads. He made his own clothing, these like weird outlandish styles, and was just super creative. And I mean, you remember like the videos for Give Me Some More and Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Could See, that like really wild out there, and also just very much like not of, you know, not the blink, like not any of that stuff, right? It was very much just, it was just Busta. And unfortunately, as time went on, I strongly believe that people were just like, well, if you want to sell more records, you're going to have to get away from the alternative stuff and start doing the more mainstream, a little bit more blingy, a little bit just club bangers and whatever. And I think it's sad, honestly. You know, I think it's very sad that like conformity became the thing which got in. And I believe, again, that conformity is informed by the fact that record industries and whatever, we're telling people what would and would not sell. You know, one of the guys, I'm not sure if it was, I think it was Fife. Anyway, had an album after this that basically they wouldn't release because they were like, no, it's too out there. You need to do something that's a little bit more mainstream. And by mainstream, they didn't mean like this album, which is amazing. They meant more like the way that they wanted it, the more of this, the regular, you know, what became mainstream rap, right? Because they wanted to sell a certain viewpoint, a certain look for what Black people were and what our experiences were. And alternative rap, again, even though it was like the most like the OG, right? The most like Grandmaster Flash, or the most like the original stuff. Alternative rap didn't give, it humanized Black people too much. It's really the long and short of it. And record industries couldn't have that because white kids in the suburbs were buying rap. So they wanted to have it be divisive. And I'm going to do some research on this because the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, either the CIA or Epstein's involved in some kind of way. There's some fuckery going on. Anyway, but Low End Theory by Tribe, A Tribe Called Quest. Get into it. Next, we're going to go a little bit further back in time. Let's hit the time machine to the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Axis, Bold as Love. This is the second album by the Jimi Hendrix Experience after Are You Experienced? This is the one that was, it's like less well known, but contains some like of the classics. And also I think it's got my favorite Jimi Hendrix song, two of them actually. If 6 Was 9 and Little Wing. Little Wing is on this one. Now, a little fun fact, this album, which they hated this album cover. This album cover did not have the approval of the group. They thought it was weird that they were like, you know, Jimi Hendrix was like, we didn't have anything to do with this album cover. Like, I don't like that. That's not us. And there was a controversy at the time because like it's taking Hindu iconography and like putting the Jimi Hendrix Experience into it, which again, it's not even like one of those things where like they had to learn better. Like at the time they were like, we don't know why they did that. Like, that's weird. And I think the album was, this cover was banned in, I believe, Malaysia at the time because it was, being essentially sacrilegious to Hindu religion. But anyway, that's just a little side tidbit. Here is the inside of the album. With the band. And some of the lyrics, my favorite lyrics, If 6 Was 9, which contains the phrase freak flag. I don't know if he originated it, but, this is 1967. He says, white collared conservative flashing down the street, pointing their plastic finger at me. They're hoping soon my kind will drop and die, but I'm going to wave my freak flag high, high, wave on. Fall mountains, just don't fall on me. Go ahead, Mr. Businessman. You can't dress like me. Sing on, brother. Play on, drummer. Love it. And again, Jimi Hendrix was doing things with the guitar that when I say revolutionize the instrument, when he, there's, if you look up the video of him playing at Monterey Pop, the one where he sets the guitar on fire, you look at the audience, they're not even cheering because they don't even know what to do with themselves. They are so absolutely fucking gobsmacked by what they've seen that they're just like they're just like agape and looking at each other. Oh, also there's a dog here. Dogs live here. That'll happen sometimes. They're agape. And the only thing I can describe is like, there's a couple of people in the audience who are like, I don't know what is happening or if I like it, but I am so wet right now. It is hilarious just to watch the faces of the crowd, because he again, it's even if you have never heard a Jimi Hendrix song, you know a picture of him like kneeling over his guitar with it on fire, doing that with his hand. It's like so fucking iconic, and for a black man to have done this, and it just also was a fucking sweetheart of a human being, a perfectionist, which caused some problems with him in the band, but just a darling. And of course, they had to, when they made a biopic of him, they had to add some fictionalized bullshit about him being abusive, which is just not true. There is nothing to that. But again, if you have a black person doing great things, the overculture just has to dirty it somehow, just has to somehow throw a little bit of shade and sully the reputation somehow, because that's just how evil they fucking are, you know? But I mean, of course they do that. They literally eat little children. So anyway, but this, even though it's not one of the most well-known, the other song on it that you probably do know, is not She's Up, Castles Made of Sand. And so castles made of sand fall into the sea eventually. Yeah, do yourself a favor and get into it. And what we're going to get into is our next segment. Mistrix, do it up.